Our modern world is dominated by environmental risk. Now more than ever before in human history, the Earth is slowly leaning into becoming uninhabitable. Subsequently, it is one of the most widely discussed core topics in today's politics, media, and in activism. However, there's still a disconnect somewhere that leaves the messages heard but unresonated, and begs the question, how do you get people to truly care and act on behalf of the environment? Generally, environmental arguments all fall into one of a few categories, depending on what their argument is based on. Is it based in factual evidence? Does it trigger a sense of empathy? Or does it try to invoke fear from its audience? Scholar Marieke van Dung uses Carl Jung's psychology as a base to address the apparent human inability to fully recognize climate change and environmental issues for their importance. He notes that, quote, there is a complexity to these issues that makes them harder to address, end quote, and says that it gets all the more complicated once you consider human priorities, such as economic and financial incentives, and temptations like instant gratification. He also notes that Jung's theory of cognitive dissonance could be responsible. Cognitive dissonance is defined as a state of having one's thoughts or beliefs unreflected in their behavior. Essentially, people can understand and believe in the issues, but human nature suppresses inconvenient thoughts so that they are rarely carried over from thought to action. This is a phenomenon that stunts the effectiveness of each of the aforementioned types of arguments. There has long been a debate over which of them is superior, as each has its undoubted advantages and can affect different people with different levels of importance. Several communication studies have indicated that arguments born of empathy are ultimately superior, because they incentivize people based on positive emotions and self-image. However, even then, most empathy-based arguments fall at the hands of cognitive dissonance. Van Dung goes on to argue that today's urban culture needs to find a way to reconnect back to the natural world, and that as more people become personally attached, the motives to protect the planet will be subsequent. However, expecting people to change on behalf of personal experience is unfortunately unrealistic, but many are starting to believe that the next best thing to first-hand experience is listening to someone else's, which is where the idea of storytelling becomes integral to promoting this issue. This is Dr. Jane Goodall, a conservationist famed for her 50-year experiment in which she lived full-time with chimpanzees in order to observe them. She now travels the world speaking out about environmental protection to hundreds of thousands of people, and recently gave an interview on how to get people to care about environmental issues.
How do you get somebody to realize that we actually are destroying the planet? I think I do it always through stories. Never through direct confrontation, because if you directly confront somebody who's, thinking polar opposite to you, they don't really listen. They're thinking of arguments to refute you.
So, what if storytelling became a legitimate strategy for scholars and advocates to base their platforms? Dr. Goodall's use of storytelling sparked media stories and publicity for the issues that traditional arguments never could have, and even created the foundations for several nonprofits. As she has proven, to get people to care, we can use stories to make thousands of people stand up for conservation efforts. We can bring them to meet the places,
Hi! Hi! We made it!
animals, moments, and experiences that we are risking. We could show each other the things that we'd all selfishly want to conserve, if only so that we or the future generations might be entitled to experience them too.